Hello, this should be a fun one. So I'm going to talk about the difference between awareness of experience and identification with experience. So, just as all things I say, none of these words can fully conceptually relay this understanding in your mind, but you can understand it. So awareness is prior to every experience. Before a thought appears, you're here. Before an emotion arises, you are here. Before the body is felt, you are here. So you are like the screen on which all the experiences appear. Your experiences will change, but the screen doesn't. And the more you return your sense of identity to being the screen and not the experiences themselves, the more bliss and the more you feel joy, because you realize that you aren't just this apparently separate individual. So identity means taking an appearance personally. But for example, the awareness of sadness is natural, but identifying with the sadness means the thought will arise that I am sad, instead of just I am, and the sadness comes and goes. That's kind of the highest spiritual thing I could say in terms of this sort of thing. A feeling plus a belief is identity. A feeling on its own, it's normal. Everyone has feelings, but notice the wording, everyone has feelings. Not everyone is the feeling. You don't need to define your own sense of being by the feelings and experiences that you have. A belief and attachment to a belief is identity. You can think about things, you can learn concepts, all those things, but it's still an identity, and it's not you, because you are the one where all the identities and all the beliefs and all the feelings and thoughts and sensations arise in. So, you, who you really are, awareness, never says, this is me. It's not a mistake to do so, because all the conditioning of our world has led many people to do this. No thought inside of awareness can ever directly point to awareness itself. Whenever there's a concept of I am this, or I shouldn't be feeling this, or this means something about me, that's all identification. But awareness, you are silent and you just see. But you have mistaken yourself for what you see, what you experience. A way to think about it is identification is just a momentary hypnosis, like a character in a dream believing themselves to be the character in the dream with their whole heart and mind. All the while they're really the mind of the dreamer, and all of their experiences are within the mind of the dreamer, if that makes sense. These are just concepts to give you a path. Don't be too attached to anything I'm saying. So when you identify with an experience, it feels real, but only because attention collapses into it. Identification is simply attention mistakenly narrowing to a single movement and forgetting the space in which it appears. There is no sin or no failing. It's just a habit. There really is no ultimate mistake or sin or any of these concepts of being really bad. It's just contrast. And when you do these things, which one would consider perhaps to be very bad, you suffer internally. All the wicked people of the world are just miserable all the time because they truly believe themselves to be this wicked person who has to do all these things to feel okay. But they don't. Experiences cannot tell you what you are. Even the experience of me right now and my words, they can only point. For example, a wave can't describe the ocean because the wave is the ocean. A thought can't describe awareness. It can come up with many models and ways to point and different words that I use to kind of guide you home, but you've always been home. It's really just a shift of your own perspective and identity of what you think is you. And don't rush yourself. Don't create more thoughts of, oh, I don't get it. Those are just thoughts, because there is no I to get it. Nothing in experience can be you because it changes, it appears, it disappears. But you don't. You're the one who's been there throughout all of your experience. To experience it, the experiencing of it is you. So noticing awareness breaks the spell instantly. Any kind of ignorant belief, any kind of misidentification, all you ever have to do is become aware of it. You don't fight the ego or any kind of concept like that. You just see through it and it dissolves. Not from struggling, but just from effortless, realization. When you recognize that you are the one aware of the thought, not the thought itself, the identification from that thought will dissolve. Because the moment you see through it, you are no longer inside of it. You no longer believe it to be you. You are the seer. Might be why the term seer is seer. You're the one who sees, not just with your eyes, but through every sense and everything that arises in you. So yeah, if you have a conceptual understanding of this, and even if you don't, doesn't matter. You don't need to push experiences away. It's really essential because non-identification is not detachment. Detachment would be if you believe yourself to be someone who isn't their experiences. But that's still a belief. That's still identifying as something that you experience. But it's simply recognizing that the experiencing has no owner. The experience has no owner. At the moment you stop trying to control or reject an experience, it flows naturally, much more effectively than anything you could have done if you were trying to manage that experience. So awareness is always effortless, but identification requires effort. Depending on how deeply you know yourself, you may see, for example, meditation as an effort of you have to go and sit somewhere and you feel all these things and these thoughts and maybe you don't like them, and you feel like it's a practice you have to do. But the more deeply you know yourself, you'll realize that it's more of a practice to pretend to be someone and to have all these opinions and thoughts that you have to pretend to back, if that makes sense. Mind you, you're still going to have thoughts and opinions opinions and things that arise naturally, but not from any sense of this is me and really having to hold on to them. You don't strain to be aware. It's just what you are. You can't struggle to be what you already are, because you already are that. But you do strain to maintain an identity. Identification is exhausting because it is unnatural. And again, it's not terrible to identify with things. Everyone has done that at some point in their life, and continues to in little ways sometimes, but less and less over time once you have this understanding. Being is restful, being your own awareness and not identifying, because it is your nature. It is you. And any decision that comes from your own nature is a good decision, because it's not based on an identity that is false and that will come and go. Your body will continue functioning without identification. When your identification drops, as I was saying, like, your speech is still going to happen. You're still going to make decisions, still going to have emotions, actions are still going to take place. It's not like what you appear as becomes a blank slate or anything like that. But all these decisions and actions and speech and what you say is not driven by lack or fear or confusion. But it becomes much smoother, because the idea of being a personal doer is no longer interfering anymore. So this realization of freedom is not the disappearance of experiences, but it's the disappearance of the belief, which is not you, that any experience defines you. You can still have fear, anger, joy, confusion, uncertainty, but they aren't you. They arise in you, and you remain completely free. One thing I think is important to say is, a lot of people say, like, states of being, states of consciousness. There is no state of being. There's a states of mind, definitely. But your being is stateless. It doesn't move. It can't be conceptualized. It's you. It's like having a lamp shine its light back on itself. Can't really do that. But you can remember that you are the lamp and not whatever the light illuminates. It's a good metaphor. It's pretty timeless. When someone says, I lost my awareness, or I fell out of presence, or I need to get back to myself, what that really means is that a new identification arose, and they believed it, and they invested their sense of self into that identification instead of remaining as themselves effortlessly. Awareness was present the entire time. It wasn't like you went anywhere, but you just got caught up in the story and the drama of the dream. So the shift is from thinking that I am this to this is appearing in me. That's a great way that I can describe it with language. It's just a reorientation within. It's not that I am anxious, but anxiety is appearing within the space of me. It's not that I'm stuck, but the thought of being stuck is being noticed. Or not that I'm growing spiritually, but a story of growth is appearing in the vastness of what I am. So identification makes life really heavy, but awareness makes life simple. Identification creates drama, fear, comparison, tension, frustration, spiritual striving, all these ideas that you're not enough or you haven't made it yet, or all these stories that people love to build up and identify with, of being a seeker and, oh, you haven't found it yet, and all these things like that. But awareness, yourself, and abiding as yourself creates ease, clarity, compassion, humor, natural wisdom that isn't like some concept that you write down and you're like, oh, I'm going to say this and it's going to sound so wise. None of that. It's not a moral difference. It's not an identity that you adopt for yourself. It's just what happens when you're not tangled in a story. It may appear like a moral difference from another perspective. Someone who's truly identified with their character of the dream might suspect that you are planning a bunch of things, or that you're thinking a certain way, or that you have this identity you've constructed around yourself. But meanwhile, you're just abiding as your own presence and you weren't doing any of that. It's so much simpler. So yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say. It's kind of a general topic. It is the only kind of primary topic of this sort of thing. But it's, you could really say many things about this, but that's why they say the highest teaching is just silence. But if someone isn't prepared, if they don't know the context of why you're just being silent, it comes off a little wrong, maybe. Not always, but yeah. Well, I hope you enjoyed. I love you very much. That's it for this video.